Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and Tam Cowan here with us on this Tuesday, looking ahead to the two games in the Scottish Premiership over tonight and tomorrow, Aberdeen against Rangers, and of course Celtic on the Wednesday as well to look forward to. We're going to hear from Ange Postecoglou, who's talking about that match against Livingston. We'll hear from David Martindale, and we'll also talk about, we'll get the thoughts of our troops on the World Cup final as well. We might as well, because I thought the best picture to sum it all up had to be Messi lying in bed with the World Cup, sleeping with it just to make sure that it doesn't leave. What a picture that is, Tam.
Yeah, but right away you think, look at the money Messi's got, look at the money Argentina must have made. I thought it looks more like a bit of a travel lodge or a Premier Inn. I thought it was very poor. You're expecting the equivalent of somewhere out there that's a bit like Glen Eagles or the old course at St Andrews, so that's a bit of a shame. Totally rigged, of course, the photo.
Yeah, if there had been a Premier Inn, Lenny Henry would have been lying next to him. But no, I mean, it looks great. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant, and what I took out of it most of all, I still hadn't decided what to get my wife for her Christmas, but now, thanks to Messi, she's getting a wee black negligee.
Yeah, it was a bit of tradition, wasn't it, Ruffy?
I couldn't make my mind up whether he was surprised what they were getting, or he knew it was going to happen, and it just looked
I think it was a bit of both, and when he realised what it was, he thought, oh, come on. But what was even worse, that the Infantino boy, he was like, limelight grabbing, I mean, he wouldn't just let Messi go and let him get on with it,
Yeah.
And then your man with the salt guy for that place in London, who he did, is it Salt Bay, the guy, and he's, the place, you can go to somewhere in London,
£1,400 for
a lump steak's about 900 quid, and he tries to lure in all the celebrities and stuff like that. He's a real kind of wannabe guy, but he infiltrated the final in a lot of people's opinions, and just one of these roasters.
Yeah.
But no, it was a great final, and I'll tell you what, as I said to Ruffy, we could do a wee pre-record at the BBC for Hugman Airson, so today 2 shows on Sunday, meant to get up the road just at half time. And I thought, that's fine, fingers and ears, no notifications on the phone, I'll sit back and watch my recording for scratch. But as you know what happens, the danger if you're recording 2 things at the same time,
yep.
And you put the telly on, one of them loups up, could be a spin of the coin, but up came the World Cup final, 2-0. And there's a wee bit of me thinking, that's it, dead, finished,
I think, yeah.
And as if you, and I must admit,
France never offered much prior
exactly.
to...
I was amazed.
But you know what? Ultimately, when I enjoyed everything else that happened for that, the start of the second half on, I can easily say it is the first game as a neutral that I've watched live where I also watched the highlights at night. I've never done that unless it was Motherwell or Scotland.
And I noticed in the preview before we come on here, you said you agreed with Ruffy, because obviously people of a certain age group, Ali, tend to agree with each other. You agreed with Ruffy because you didn't think it was the best World Cup final ever, you thought it was the most exciting.
Oh, no, the final.
Yeah.
As I say, I don't think it was I thought the standard early doors was pretty iffy. There was a couple of good stories. Saudi Arabia beating the eventual champions, the brilliant run, history-breaking run for Morocco, etc. But no, the final was an absolute topper. It was very, very exciting. But bettered by what in terms of finals?
Yeah.
Well, no, I think it was the best final.
Oh, do you?
I was only kidding you in the preview about no 1960. How would I was -3, right? The best thing about was definitely the excitement, the goals, the stories. Mbappe, Ali McCoist's legendary line now that will go down in folklore, and of course the ultimate story there with Lionel Messi, and the fact that, like Mr. McManus, I had bet Argentina at the start of the tournament 11-2.
You had it as well, didn't you, Ruffy? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Ali, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was a great showpiece event.
Best ever?
I'm always reluctant with your best evers, but I think it would definitely be up there. I think so often the finals are tense affairs. People don't want to lose them rather than teams wanting to win them. I thought for the first hour or so, you didn't really see much of France at all, and then when they got the goal back, that 97 seconds where it just exploded, and then I thought the the extra time. I thought the last half hour was glorious. I thought both were really committed to going for it by that point.
Ali, I've got to say this to you. Sometimes people pander to women. Not on this show, because obviously you've been here and you're a stalwart. Tam and I...
She would boot your balls if you'd even try it.
No, but the reason why I'm saying this, Tam, is because Tam and I were at school and we go to... Tam went to a place called the Electric Bar, underage at the time, but he'd go with all his mates and we'd sit there and we'd go, top 5 songs of all time, top 5 players, top 5 games you've ever been at. Did anybody hang about with you, Ali? I mean, honestly,
think that's a really male thing.
It's not male. I would have been listen, are we inviting Ali? Is Ali coming tonight? No, leave her. She can't do for top 5s.
I don't want to reduce Peter to tears here, but when he said top 5 songs, Ghost Town, the specials, what a sad bit of news that was.
I know.
Haunting. What a brilliant piece of music.
It's absolutely fantastic.
One of the great records of all time,
I'm glad we're of that similar vein in music, but you need to get into top 5s. And is it the best ever World Cup final?
I thought it was a fantastic World Cup final. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I think so often it's a damp squib.
Have you seen anything better?
No.
Right.
Not in terms of World Cup finals.
Yeah.
No.
Best ever?
In my lifetime.
That's all we want from you, Ali.
Everybody trots out, and they were doing it yesterday, the 1970 final, but it's not
like
everybody seen it,
right.
Yeah. So that was absolutely exhilarating, and all the wee cameos, like the celebrations that you were getting, the drone that they'd obviously used at other games away, that was capturing so much of the excitement and the excitement of the crowd, and then you had that great shot, a couple of the Argentinian players crying on the sidelines. They all get whipped up in the frenzy of excitement. It was just absolutely brilliant. You'd never have taken your eye off it.
No, absolutely, it was brilliant. Ruffy,
There you go.
you've said the best ever for you is the 1970, and I did see that.
Yeah, the 1970. I'm saying that because in this final, as I said yesterday, I thought it was the most exciting I've ever seen. But if I really were to analysing it, there was 6 goals, and there was only 2 of them were decent. Really, there's only 2 of them were decent. The Argentina one and the other one, but Mbappe's. But apart from that,
You weren't happy with the
2
build-up of Messi's goal?
penalties and that kind of thing. So I picked 70 because I can see the 5 goals, and they were all absolutely stone well.
Bonancegas wasn't a cracker. It was a tap in and an empty goal.
But I mean, the build-up for all the Brazil goals were absolutely superb.
Yeah,
Nice to see Ruffy with his Partick Thistle Christmas jumper. It's all gone downhill. Absolutely.
Good winning Friday night.
Oh, aye, it was.
Yeah.
You know what? The league's we wax lyrical about it every week on the wireless, but the way that just tightened up that even wee bit better. Where the fact they were looking not quite running away for it, but with it, but getting a big gap. But it's brilliant. It's a great league. Bring back football first. There's a wee thing for PLZ today.
Yeah, memories of that. And can I just say to you on Football First, which Ali, the STV and their infinite wisdom had the Premiership programme, and then they had a separate programme showing all the First Division games. But on one occasion, the cameraman came in and he'd been late, and he'd missed 9 of the first 11 goals that were scored that day. So the voiceover started, "We joined the game at 5-4.
Did you ever do that? So it was David McKinney primarily, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was David.
I thought Kat did it for a wee bit as well.
A wee bit too, yeah, absolutely. So we joined the game at 5-4.
You've not missed much.
Exactly. What a great equaliser for Stenhousemuir. So well happy with it. I'm happy that you said 1970, but for me it's the best ever World Cup final, and I'm delighted. And even your boys, I'll talk to you about the BBC Sports Personality, because the World Sports Star they've announced is Messi.
But it's lovely for you to think that BBC in Scotland got a sniff of the BBC Sports Personality of the Year judging process. No, I'm rooting for Ronnie O'Sullivan. Simple as that. Ronnie's up. So he's one of the guys that you hang up snookers on, and then you just press the wee information, Ronnie O'Sullivan, and you go and watch it.
Yeah. Well, he's won it, 35 years of age, and I think the panel obviously wanted to cash in on his popularity. Whether they get him on a 1-to-1, who knows? But he's got the World Cup, he's now got the BBC World Sports Personality of the Year. What more can you ask for? let's have a look at the Premier League table, because there are 2 games tonight. One tonight, one tomorrow, beg your pardon. Aberdeen against Rangers and Celtic Livingston. And as you can see, we've got Celtic restoring their 9-point lead after that 1-0 win up at Pittodrie, where the Dons parked the bus. And the big question now, as we look at that table, is, are they going to park the bus again, Ali?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think Jim Goodwin has a conundrum, because it clearly... I had some sympathy for the level of criticism that was directed his way at the weekend, because ultimately he's 5-6 minutes away from getting a point and from it working. On the other hand, I think he has quality players in an attacking sense that are capable of asking questions of Celtic and of Rangers. I just wonder if it might entice him tonight to have a go, to try and play to his side's strengths. They've scored a lot of goals at home. I think they've got a very good record at home. I think only Celtic and Motherwell have beaten them at Pittodrie this season. I think certainly from an Aberdeen fan's perspective, you would want to see them try and go toe-to-toe with Rangers and bring out the best in guys like Duke and Majowski, see what they've got to offer. Yeah, well, it's a nice sentiment. Jim Goodwin certainly hinted that defence will play a strong part in this game again.
We've not decided on what the game plan will be going into the Rangers game. We'll see how the boys recover after today. There's going to be a lot of fatigue, so we'll have to get them turned around pretty quickly for what's going to be another extremely competitive game on Tuesday night. But look, defensively I want us to be solid and I want us to be organised. We've come in for a lot of criticism pre-World Cup about the amount of goals that we've been conceding. That's not something that can be labelled at us here at Pittodrie, because prior to today we'd only conceded 6 goals.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. They've all rounded on him, Ruffy, and all had a real go at him for it. I mean, even Hugh Scott says, Peter, I guarantee Aberdeen will be on the front foot tonight. If he didn't spout as much rubbish about having a go before playing like they did, it wouldn't have been as much, he wouldn't have been as criticised as much. Listen, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If they come out and have a go tonight, Rangers fans will be looking, saying, well, there you are. You only ever raise your game against Rangers. That's your only incentive.
They're going to say that anyway. It's just a standard thing now with Aberdeen and Rangers up at Pittodrie. They have that in their mindset that Aberdeen is the only team. They turn up when they play Rangers. And if they get something out of the game, that's what they'll all say. But no, I think he's got to have a go. He's got to have. As he said there, he's got to be defensive. He's got to be organised. He's got to show a wee bit more endeavour than what he did. I don't mind him. I thought it was quite truthful when he came out and said why he did it. Because he'd went to Ibrox and get turned over because they tried to have a go. And at Parkhead as well. So at home he's decided Celtic are the best team in the league, so he's decided that he's not going to get turned over. And if he gets away with a nothing each, Tam's the supporter in here, I'm sure most of the Aberdeen supporters would have been happy. A lot of people are saying they wouldn't have been happy. I think if you get a nothing each against the 2 big sides, then it's a bonus.
Yeah, I got a sense when I was in the press box, Tam, that a lot of Aberdeen fans were looking and thinking, this is just one-way traffic, it's relentless. It's 19% possession. The only time they actually get out of their seats was when Johnny Hayes come on and beat a man and moved forward with menace. Other than that, it's a hard watch.
No shots on target, and a damning statistic for me was no corner kicks for Aberdeen, which is quite a hard thing to do actually, but I've got a lot of sympathy as a Motherwell fan for Jim Goodwin there, because fans are very, very fickle, and I've seen it many times in the past. Motherwell, particularly back in the day, going to places like Ibrox and Parkhead, if you shut up shop, if you park the bus, to use the more modern expression, and get the result, then the fans love it. It doesn't matter how much dross we had watched for 90 minutes, a complete lack of ambition. If we trot away for Parkhead or Ibrox, and I have done it in the past with a point, you feel absolutely brilliant. You have a wee celebration with your pals, but parking the bus only works if you get the result. That's the only way, and the Aberdeen fans would have left delighted with a point, I'm sure. Craig Levein, what was he, 11 minutes away, the legendary 4-6-0 night. Craig Levein would have been lauded as a master tactician if he'd have got away. What was that? What was that? Beat it! Well, I turned you and your wife for me getting on, but honestly.
But your thing comes over the microphone.
Playing with my tassel.
I'll wipe it. I'm only giving you my expertise on television.
I was a wee bit creepy there. Right, dearie me. Did you even listen to that I say that?
No, I
You were just
wasn't.
looking at my boobs, weren't you?
I was looking and I'm saying to myself, our producer's going to be saying, you know, Tam's just sitting there and all I can hear is the rubbing of his tassel on it.
Well, I apologise. No more tassels.
Yes.
Either outwardly or inwardly.
Yeah, the point I'm making to you, and this is...
The point is that the parking the bus is great until your opponents against whom the bus is parked score a goal, and then your jaw goes like that, and then you start analysing, we never even did a shot at goal, we didn't get a corner kick, and that's why Jim Goodwin has been blasted. But I think that overall he deserves the criticism because Aberdeen were in really good form at home. They couldn't buy a result away from home, and even when's the last time we said this about an Aberdeen team? They were scoring goals for fun, they were banging them in, so you've got to have a go.
Yeah, the problem with that though is, and I mean, listen, I like Willie Miller. Willie Miller apparently absolutely lambasted Aberdeen for the way they went about their business the other night there, but when you go into a ring, if you know you're going to get battered by your opponent, you have to work out a way, whether it's rope-a-dope or something else, that you have to work out a way to try and beat your opponent. And if you're getting leathered all the time, and actually when I was sitting on the ground I thought to myself, I tipped it to be 3-1, because I thought if Aberdeen come out and play here, Celtic will annihilate them, because that's what they do to teams, Ali. And Willie Miller's criticism, and he's an Aberdeen legend, you know, Willie Miller played when they had Gordon Strachan, they had Mark McGee, they had Eric Black, they had Peter Weir, they had Miller and McLeish. These guys, most of them poached from the west of Scotland, could go out and nobody could turn around and say we're a better player than you, because they had a great team with a brilliant attitude.
Yeah, I take the point. It's completely different eras and generations of players, and the gap and the chasm between Celtic and Aberdeen now is far wider than it ever would have been in Willie Miller's time. But I had sympathy too. I think we spoke about this often when Celtic were in the Champions League, and Ange Postecoglou being unwilling to compromise on his philosophy and his style, and there were conversations with us in the media and in a broader sense in the media where people were saying you have to be a bit more pragmatic if you don't want to be on the end of a hiding. Ange Postecoglou, to his credit, said, I'm sticking to my guns, this is how I want my team to play. Was it successful? There's an argument to be had.
What you're saying is we're guilty of hypocrisy.
I don't think it's hypocrisy, but I think you can see both sides of an argument presented. I think what you can say is, do you want to go and have a go, or do you want to think, what's the most sensible way of trying to get something out of the game? He was minutes away from it being successful, and if you look at it, it's a long range effort from the edge of the box. Could go anywhere. It takes a deflection that can go.
And keep with Celtic, look at what happened a couple of times when Brendan Rodgers, who could do no wrong domestically, when he had a go, and Celtic got absolutely, what were the two right big pummelings they got?
PSG, and
so, you know, that could be demoralising perhaps for a club or for a set of players or whatever, but it's a strange, it's a great football talking point, don't get me wrong, the whole thing about parking the bus, because, and Ruffy will remember him, you might even have had some dealings with him in the junior world, but it used to be funny at Motherwell when Tommy McLean, the great wee Tommy McLean, was in charge, and we would go to Ibrox and Parkhead, and we had a player, a big centre half called Alec Kennedy, big red-headed centre half, right? I knew that, right? Yeah. And big Alec, God bless him, he only seemed to get a game when we went to Ibrox or Parkhead, and he was slotted in between Craig Patterson and Tom McAdam as a fifth member of the back line, you know what I mean? And we tried that, and at times it came off. 1988, Ray Farmingham, 88th minute, a wee low header away down at the other end at Ibrox.
Who crossed it that
and
day?
We were, I don't know, but that you remember you're winning goals against the big two, right?
That's brilliant.
And we were absolutely over the moon, you know, and it was great, but if that hadn't happened in the 88th minute, and up the other end, invariably McCoist had scored and beat us 1-0, would have been gutted, and we McLean would have been getting pelters for the fans, but that's football.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Jim Goodwin made a really good point yesterday in the press conference. He said if we had been on the end of a hiding, 5-0 or 6-0, I'd have been hugely criticised as well, and he's right. You would have been in there would be an argument to say you're considering yourself this season to be the third force in Scottish football, and here you are on the end of being absolutely annihilated by Celtic. Should you not have been a bit more?
Well said.
Yeah, well,
I'll tell you what as well, you're talking about how great the World Cup final was. The way the build-up has gone with this one, who's going to miss that tonight? This is absolute box office, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely brilliant. I'm really looking forward to it. First time Aberdeen get into the Rangers half, there'll be mayhem, Ruffy. I mean,
it'd be great if Aberdeen get the centre and they pass it all the way back to the goalkeeper at the start.
Honestly, I mean, I think the other thing about it, and this is, and I've received criticism on here, and thanks to Alan Woods, who says Peter's about to call Willie Miller a good lad. Do I often say that? Is this a catchphrase of mine now, that I'm saying people who are decent people, paying them a compliment? But I really would like Aberdeen to show a little bit more ambition. I wanted them to show a bit more ambition at the weekend, Ruffy. They didn't. It was poor. It was hard to watch. And I think they've got some really talented players there that were more than capable of creating something on the day. They didn't do it. I still would love a situation where Aberdeen, Hearts and Hibs, wherever there is a real glut or a number of good young players, they should have scouts out trying to steal as many as possible to see if they can in some way not bridge the gap. I mean, I don't know if it was you, Tam. Hope I'm not accusing you of something here, but Aberdeen, they're not even, I mean, the third force, fourth force, fifth force, who cares? I'd love to see a situation where they could just go out and absolutely batter Rangers or Celtic, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, there was
we're in a league right now where these teams are just there for a hiding.
There was a bit of clickbait that I'm hoping you'll take full responsibility in the back of last Tuesday's show. When I was talking about it's probably Aberdeen that we are looking to.
Yes.
Eventually, down the line, maybe a new stadium.
You're having a go at Shell for taking your line out of context.
Maybe a stadium that's backed by Shell or BP or something, and then they can make inroads. But it was portrayed on social media that I was saying as if Aberdeen could win the league this year.
Yeah.
Which is nonsense. But I'll tell you the other reason that I would stick up a wee bit. I'm just trying to have a bit of balance here. Everybody was flaming Jim Goodwin. Another wee bit of credit I'll give Jim Goodwin. He didn't try to hide it after the game. Seen the post-match stuff.
No.
He held his hands up. He says, "Look, this is a plan we were going with," and he was more than entitled to say. He says we came close, but that was our plan. He wasn't making excuses and saying, "Oh well, Celtic are great and we couldn't. We tried and we had a lot of shots and all that," because he knew that everybody had watched the game, everybody had the stats. But it's going to be fascinating tonight. And again, if you look at any of the stuff online about it, you'll find that actually Aberdeen don't get a mention. Now, this has all suddenly flipped to be about Rangers and Celtic.
I know, that's right.
I bet
no big surprise.
I didn't even go at them.
Gallant, who I think is an Aberdeen fan, says, "Peter, how about an equal split of revenues?" Sadly, that bus is long gone because quite simply, now because of the way business is, not just in Scotland, but football worldwide, you have to either have a wealthy backer or huge investment from somewhere, and that's why we're in this desperate situation here of a 12-team league, which, apart from the playoffs, which I think are fantastic, but everybody thinks it's great. Everybody thinks it's great to see Celtic and Rangers win the league every year. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to be dead and they'll still be going, Celtic and Rangers win the league, and Mother will have to hope for the odd win with a Ray Farningham header, and and Aberdeen have to look back and say, on this day 35 years ago we beat Real Madrid or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I loved when I was a kid, I don't know about you, Tam, but I loved when I was a kid going up to Pittodrie thinking, we might get battered here. If we get a draw, woof, fantastic. And you'd go out and you'd sit there, and I used to sit there and look and think, Gordon Strachan is magnificent. McGee, and there's a player before him that Ruffy knows that I loved, Ian Scanlon. These players were absolutely magnificent, and you actually thought to yourself, 1-0 up here, Fergie's going to go in and do the half-time talk, and they're going to get battered. And you'd go back down the road and you'd think, we lost 2-1. Dundee United, same thing. Absolutely belting down at rain one night in a League Cup alley. Celtic played against Dundee United, and Dundee United spanked Celtic 3-0 at Celtic Park. It was absolutely a joy to watch. Sturrock as well, Kirkwood, you name the players that were there.
That Aberdeen team, that great Aberdeen team, they knew how to park the bus as well, but they did it properly. They would take the lead, they'd come down to Fir Park, and maybe John Hewitt or somebody would score a goal, and then we triangles because you could pass it back to the goalie. Then Leighton, Miller, McLeish, they would just knock it about each other and see out time. That's a proper way to park the bus. Get a goal first.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think the biggest complaint that we had, not a way back, but a wee while back, was the other teams couldn't compete with Rangers and Celtic because they always used to steal their best players. I don't know if that's a good thing now that they're not stealing the best players, they're going abroad and picking the best players. Because I don't remember the last time either of the two of them took a Scottish player.
I think that still
You know,
happens. You think of
well,
David
David-
Turnbull
David-
at Motherwell.
Yeah,
and I
it's
think,
getting shorter and shorter now. It's
I'm glad
getting.
you said that, Robbie, because here's today's quiz question. Before Ross McCrory, how many years have passed since a Rangers player joined Aberdeen? Do you want
Aberdeen.
to give us a
Since a Rangers player went directly from Rangers to Aberdeen.
yeah, and joined them?
Well, I think I've got an answer.
Scott Wright.
Go on then. You think Scott Wright? How many years?
3,
3 years.
2019 was it?
I was going much further
I'm talking
back.
a Rangers player who's joined
No,
Aberdeen.
Rangers player
Oh,
going
sorry,
to Aberdeen.
not Aberdeen. Rangers.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah. So
I can't see without glasses now. I
Yeah.
can't read your question.
that's a bonus for you. Ruffy's on your left, by the way. Ruffy.
Yeah, I can't think.
No, can't think of anybody. I'm going to give you the
Jim
answer.
Bate went the other way.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the answer at the end of the programme.
All right,
But
okay.
you got to.
See, before you give us the answer, give us at least the decade and then maybe the year.
The
if we
question
need it.
is, before us, how many years ago was it? Give me the year. Just give me a year that you
Right.
think the last time a Rangers player
I think-
joined Aberdeen.
I think we're going back to the late 80s.
80s. Right, give me 84.
Oh, I'm getting warm. I think I know who it is.
Go on. No, just give me the year then.
Right, I think 87.
87.
Other than a youth player who's gone up, maybe a youth player like McCrory who's maybe just not properly made the breakthrough.
Yeah.
Are you talking about that, or is it an established first team player?
It's a player. It's a first team player. Just give me a year, Ali. What year?
91.
91.
I'll go 96.
96.
Yeah.
Okay, there you are. Right, fantastic.
What's the price?
Is the prize? The prize is.
Do we get a Christmas boat holiday by the way? This is my last show. Happy New Year.
Do you not pick up your turkey?
A wee hamper or something.
Yeah.
Something for the Wayne at least.
Just out of. Nah, you got me there. Something for the win at least.
Listen, we watched this. Who's that man that was caressing you? Even mummy doesn't do that now.
Yeah, steady. You don't want to alienate everybody in your life. By the way, forget the BBC give you a turkey.
You can tell how high his voice was then. It was lying.
The BBC give you a turkey.
Yes, they
Does
did.
Cosgrove get a turkey?
Yes. Yes. We got a hamper. No, we didn't get him. That was it.
Ali, when was the last time I was just about to say, Ali, for the evening times in the Herald, did you actually have a Christmas night out?
We had a Christmas night
Did
out.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that we paid for ourselves, but yeah, we
Yeah.
had the Christmas night out. Always had that.
It's never
Always
enough,
had the
Ali. It's
Christmas
never
night
enough
out.
at PLZ, isn't it? Not. It's unbelievable. It's incredible.
I'm super grateful, Peter.
Yeah, I'm just looking for your gratitude. I'm just saying it's never enough.
I'm
Ruffy.
quite happy with my bonus.
Oh, geez, you're a noise up. Can I just say something to you? Can I just?
I never got a bonus. Only joke.
Can I just
I
say
didn't
something
think
to
you
you?
said that there.
Can I just?
I'm quite happy with my bonus. So you should be at that age.
Can I just say, Michael Beale has been obviously talking about this because obviously, he's hoping that Rangers can actually play second half for him against Hibs for the whole game against Aberdeen.
Yeah, because you see where we're at. We're going to have to maybe use everybody that we've got in the squad in terms of finding a solution to open the door. I'm not going to give you any secrets right now, but I think the way we played the second half the other day will create chances against every team in this league. So it's important we start where we left off on Thursday, because I was pleased with the second half in particular.
Yeah, second half, that was the spirit, that was the fight, Ali. He has hinted actually that it might be a wee deal in the offing for Ryan Jack as well.
Yeah, he's one of a number of players, senior players who are out of contract at the end of this season. His injury record, I think, has been difficult across recent seasons, but I think he probably still has something to offer Rangers. But in terms of performance on Thursday night against Hibs, I thought Rangers looked rusty for large elements of it until they got the goal back, and then you sensed. You sensed them coming back into it in that second period. I thought they really were a different side after the interval, but that first half I thought Hibs asked questions of them, got in behind, chance before the interval to have gone 3-1 up. I think that might have made it particularly interesting in the second half. I think they lost a bit of resolve in the second period, but I think there are still elements within Rangers' play that would be a concern. Just going into what's a very hectic run now prior to hosting Celtic on the 2nd.
Yeah, because the one thing we have been talking about, and speaking to Rangers mates of mine, is that whole situation which fans do right across the board. I mean, I think when Neil Lennon was in charge, the Celtic fans were doing it when it was all absolutely collapsing in the January, is, well, if they lose 3 points there and they can win there and we can win there, and everybody, and that's what Rangers fans have been doing this season, like, if we can win these here, they'll drop points there, but it hasn't happened.
No, last weekend was a perfect example. I mean, when it was nothing each, Rangers and supporters were saying, okay, that's 2 points back, and then they've got their game, they've won their game, so that's the way it works. And now it's turned about. Now it's Rangers' turn to go up to Aberdeen, which is usually a difficult place to go. And Celtic's supporters will be saying, well, this could be some points dropped here. We've got a home game against Livingston. We could go further ahead, and that's the way it's going to be. But I think Rangers have put themselves in this position, being so far behind Celtic, that every game they play now is more important than the Celtic games. Because everybody's just waiting on a draw or a defeat, and then everybody's going to jump in the bandwagon going, that's it.
Yeah, if there's any slip-ups between now and January the 2nd, and Rangers can capitalise on it, then Ibrox becomes really a game on. If not, and it all goes pear-shaped, suddenly we're all looking at January and the league's over.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think if it stays as it is and both of them win their games, and Celtic have still to go to Easter Road, Celtic have got to play Hibs prior to that Ibrox game, but if it stays with a 9-point gap between the two sides, you would think that even if Celtic were to come away with a draw, that you're pretty much there. I think Rangers would need to win at Ibrox, and ask as many questions of Celtic as possible to try and eat into that lead. And then I think if you do see a stumble, it becomes interesting, because you've seen it before when a lead goes. You've seen a 7-point swing in the last 5 games. So I think all Rangers can do is ask a question, but you need to have a level of consistency to do that you've not seen from Rangers this season so far. Yeah,
okay, Wednesday, Celtic against Livingston. There was a period where Livy really were a bogey team for Celtic. They were taking points off them.
Absolutely. But I'll tell you what, Livy are going in and, everybody's got a lot of time for Davy Martindale and what he's done at Livy, and wondering why he's not been quoted for other jobs. When I just had a glance at your league table there, Peter, I think that if Livy can pull off a shock, they might go third in the league then. In terms of the way the league is sitting just now. So Livy will go there, absolutely no lose situation, and depending on what happens tonight, it'll mean, is there a wee bit of pressure on Celtic, i.e. if Rangers go up there and win at Pittodrie tonight, or will Celtic just get a boost for what happens at Pittodrie tonight, i.e. if Aberdeen pull off a result. Incidentally, before you move on, if Aberdeen do have a go tonight, and they get beaten 4-0, what's the reaction for the Aberdeen fans?
Well, it is Rangers, so they'll be raging. There's no love lost between the two sides. In contrast to that, if Aberdeen win, if Aberdeen win tonight, all hell lets loose. They'll be going bananas, and rightly so.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't tonight. I think he's too experienced. I think he'll be.
Can you imagine Aberdeen score first, Ali? I'll tell you what's going to happen. Aberdeen will score first. All the Rangers fans in the first, they'll go, boo, boo. You shower of rats.
Would they be able then to park the bus, a la Miller, McLeish and Leighton? If they go a goal up, would they then be able to park the bus?
That's what I think he would try and
pull off.
That's what I think he would probably.
But the other thing, I mean, you're right, there's going to be bedlam with this, of course, but in the same way that whenever I hear Celtic fans going on about Scottish referees, I wish I was wearing my quadruple treble t-shirt, and saying, how is that possible? If every referee, they would have pulled you up somewhere, a wee cut tie or something, give a dodgy penalty, you wouldn't have won a quadruple treble. Now, but the same, if I can switch it, which you always have to do in Scotland, for Rangers fans who would say, aye, Celtic, that's their pet team, they only try against us, I seem to recall a 9-0 at Parkhead in the recent past. Which two teams were playing?
Aberdeen.
Celtic and Aberdeen,
Yeah.
you know, so...
Yeah, well, listen.
Part of the bus that day.
I think you're...
I never walked.
yeah, but it's parked at the corner flag. The point you're making, I think everybody's going to be watching the game tonight. Celtic against Livingston at home on grass, and again, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking they've got the bit between their teeth. They do have, and they showed it again against Aberdeen, was quite simply, okay, I still think they need a striker in the January window, definitely, because they have not got, I mean...
Need a clinical striker.
Kyogo is not living up to it. He's missing sitters. So I'm looking at the Celtic side and I'm thinking they need a clinical striker. They might offload Giakoumakis and try and do a bit of jiggery-pokery to get somebody in. But they definitely just relentlessly stuck to the game plan. Go left, go right, go left, and wait, and then try and pick something off. The other thing I think, and I mean a wee bit nitpicky here, and I don't know how you feel about it, if they're a goal-scoring midfielder, I mean, Callum McGregor had 2 efforts which were like, you know, I think one of the balls hit off Harry Kane's ball, which was still travelling. Callum McGregor's the nearest thing to Paul McStay that I've witnessed for shooting. You know, it's either an absolute humdinger or he's not. It's not hitting the target, you know.
I would agree with you on both counts. I think what's quite notable about Celtic just now is there's no sense of panic. I think when it's late in the game and you know you're going into final 5 minutes or so, there remains a sense of calm about how they play. They don't start rushing it or forcing passes. I think there's a belief within the squad that they're still capable of taking something, which is probably enhanced by the fact they've done it so often in the recent past. I think the goals in terms of the last 15 minutes, I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but there's been a significant amount this season. But I would agree too. I think you saw it in the Champions League. I think you're seeing it in a domestic context, maybe less notable in a domestic context because Celtic get away with it so often, but they definitely, from chances created to chances converted, they definitely need a clinical striker. Kyogo missed one that was just right across the face.
5 years out.
The midfielder who fits your bill is Turnbull.
Yeah,
Turnbull, around about the 18-yard box as a midfielder, gets more shots on target and more shots at goal from the midfield position.
He's not
he's not playing. I know.
Stan Petrov or something like that.
Any time he gets a chance, you know, he's there or thereabouts.
Who would you offload out of curiosity? I mean, I know Juranovic has been linked with Barcelona. I think Barcelona will agree to 380,000 payments of £5. You know, because they don't have much money.
I think they can do better than Giakoumakis. I think he's a big centre forward in a Celtic team that should score goals. And I've always said a decent centre forward with the supply they get into the box will score goals. So I would like to think they're out there actively trying to find somebody who's a step up for him.
Yeah, Stephen has said, and this is the great thing about the joy of taking things out of context, Kyogo has scored 11 goals in 12 league games, and you're wanting him dropped, Peter. I never say drop him, I just said that they need to get a higher calibre striker. It's as simple as that.
See, before we leave the park in the bus phrase, which is phrase of the day, it would appear then that our domestic referees haven't had the directive from FIFA then post World Cup because it was it was sadly just a normal, was it 4 minutes or something?
Even at half time, the whistle went at half time on the stroke at the 45th.
So
minute.
I'm guessing.
Did you see a lot of time though that was?
Well, I think they would.
If the very nature of parking the bus was indeed carried out by Aberdeen.
Was there no time at the World Cup final?
Time? No, you're talking
about Pittodrie. Yeah, I'd like to see additional
Celtic game.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
At half the whistle went in the 45th minute.
And then again, who does that? Which of the two teams does that suit when it's 10 minutes to go after 90 minutes? Who does that suit? The good teams? Or does it suit teams that are trying to hang on?
It suits the team that's going and trying to win the game. No, but Celtic were clearly doing it to death. You know the best bit of praise for Callum McGregor and answer me, that's when I was watching, only saw the last 20 minutes after the radio at the weekend, and somebody asked me, is Callum McGregor, is he naturally left or right footed? What is it?
Left.
Right, okay. But I think what a great, that's the highest accolade I think you can pay a guy like that, because he's equally comfortable in both. He's scored goals with both, but you can't say that about a lot of players.
No, the other thing I was going to say about Celtic is obviously he's going to have to look for players, but what about the players? We mentioned Juranovic, Stephen Welsh possibility of going out, Giakoumakis. Have they had any offers? Here's what the Celtic manager said today.
People can talk about offers and clubs wanting, but I can't spend my time chasing shadows of what it's in the press every morning because I'd be spending my whole day talking to players. As I keep saying to people, what I see is what's before me every day here at training. If there's an issue, or if players have things put in front of them about their future, I'm sure they'll come and see me, and Michael will speak to their representatives. But right now, there's nothing, zero, zip, nada, nothing going on.
Yep, okay, we get the message. Well, there's nothing usually going on because the window's not open. It'll come once you get closer to the window for the offers. And I'm glad you actually praised Callum McGregor because David Martindale was glowing in his praise of the Celtic captain.
And they've probably, for me, got some of the best wingers in the league. And they've definitely got one of, if not the best midfielder in the league in Callum McGregor, because for me, Callum McGregor is a top 4, potentially top 6 English Premier League player. That's how highly I rate him. I think he's a fantastic captain, a fantastic player. So yeah, I think Celtic are very, very dominant this year and they're the team to beat.
Yeah, I think for the past couple of seasons he's been the best midfielder in Scotland. I agree with David Martindale there. I can't think of anybody that comes close to him.
No, it's hard boots to fill with Scott Brown leaving. I said the other day, and I think in 2 or 3 years' time, I think he will surpass Brown. I think I said yesterday on the show, I think he's a better player. I think he affects the game more. I think he'll score more goals than Scott Brown. Obviously, Scott Brown is captain and win all his cups and all that. Yeah. But I think eventually, I can't see Callum McGregor going anywhere at all than a Celtic jersey.
No, he'll finish it there.
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, I think he'll surpass what Scott Brown's done.
Yeah. Predictions. Ruffy, I had Rangers to win 3-1.
I've got Rangers 2-1.
I've got 1 each.
I've gone for a shock, 1-0 home win for Aberdeen.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. That was in the predictor as well.
Yeah. If that happens tonight, because they've parked the bus, I think Ruffy and I should take you out for a wee Christmas meal.
Lovely. That'd be nice.
Is that all right, or will we get Sophie a present?
No, it's fine. You can get away with a present. But tell me what it is first, because I tend not to know all the other ones that she gets, if you know what I mean. I
don't want to double
it. That was me to go to you that.
So what, have you finished all your shopping, Ali?
Just about.
That's magnificent, isn't it, Ruffy? Hey? Still got a few things to go.
Scurrying about daft it, you done now, aye?
Just about.
You seemed a bit out of puff when you came in the other day.
Yeah. Right, okay.
We held up
to
get here, traffic.
Yeah, it was busy. Yeah, absolutely. Shut at you. Can I ask you this? She was going to give you a lift, but it was dark outside and you couldn't see you. Your protesters card up. Now, the other thing I was going to ask you is Celtic Livingston.
Oh, I think I've went.
Yeah, I'll tell you what you've
2-0,
gone.
I think.
Ali, what did you go? Because you obviously usually wait right to the end so you can...
3-1, I think.
Did you? Wait a minute to check and see where Ali's come in. Ali's predictions, did they come in last? Near enough. Second last behind Ruffy, by the way. You're playing a really sneaky game, Ali, by the way. So yeah, but
I've been busy.
There's one saving grace for you, and it's called Hugh McDonald, who I think has thrown the towel in this whole predictor.
Yeah,
I think
he's quite relaxed about it as well. You know,
he was relaxed until I showed him the predictor table. Here's the predictor table to see, and he knows that he's only 10 points behind Tam, and he's predicted Rangers for a draw near enough every game. So he's only 10 points behind Tam, and suddenly Tam needs to get his finger out because he
the points process, give us a reminder how it works. What points do you get for what? 2
points if you predict the outcome of the game correctly.
Win, lose, or draw. Right.
And then 5 points if you predict the outcome and the score correctly.
Okay.
Right. So, Ruffy, you and I are absolutely cruising it.
At the moment, yeah. There's not been many big scores for a while.
No, there hasn't. There hasn't been a 21.
No, there hasn't been.
What's your problem, Ali?
I'm trying to see. Is that
1-2-4 you are, and Tam's 1-2-7.
Are you 1-4? Is that 1-5?
I'm 1-3-8, and Ruffy's 140.
1-3-8. So you are only 10, 12. You're only 12.
Yeah.
14.
It's early days yet.
Yeah, did you dog maths, aye? So there you are. You're still heading towards the top, Ali, but slowly but surely, you could have what we're calling nowadays a Partick Thistle, and you could just suddenly go on a run of 5 or 6 games without getting any points, and then all of a sudden it's we've got injuries. I
think you're premature. I think you're premature in thinking you're home and host.
There's no way I am losing this predictor. There's no way I'm going to be Ruffy, if you and I lose this predictor and have to take something out for a meal, there's something far wrong.
Yeah, but now things have changed this year because there is a trophy to win it now.
Yeah.
So that's a wee bit more competitive.
I'll bring the trophy in.
I've got the big cup.
Have you got another one?
I've got the big predictor cup now, so this is a big one for you to win this year, Ali. If you could pull that off, your son and all the family will think, wow, 2 trophies in 1 year.
Never had a double.
Eh?
Never had a double winner.
Ali's never won anything.
Ever?
So when she got that
last season.
I know, but you said to me that you've never won anything.
I never won anything.
Never won anything at school.
Joe Average all the way.
Yeah, well, not Joe Average to us, by the way, but to be fair, listen, everybody's going to be looking and scouting players, Ruffy. Hearts apparently have got the Japanese Mbappe. He's agreed a deal, and he's joining them. His name is Yutaro Oda. I hope he is the Japanese Mbappe, because that would be great.
As his agent dumped him.
yes.
That J League seems to be the league, that everybody's identifying now. You're going to get a bonus, and obviously Celtic have started that off. So, and obviously I thought there would be more Australian players coming in with the success that they've had as well. The players that have came over and they've done well at other clubs. So. And it's interesting in Kilmarnock, they've got a director of football as well now. Let's see who they start bringing in January.
I think there's going to be a lot of activity in January. It'll be crucial for your lot as well, Mallow.
Yeah, absolutely. I had kind of jokingly said to Stevie Hamill, I don't mind telling the odd wee tale at school, there was no harm in this one, at the Hall of Fame night last month when I got him up on stage, and I said to him, I said, Stevie, are you looking forward to the transfer window? And he says, oh yes. And I says, can you give the fans any names of people who shouldn't be looking forward to the transfer window? And he just laughed, which kind of told me that he may be maybe not on the same scale as Hibs, but he might be having a wee bit of a clear out. But I'll tell you, Hibs and Hearts, the bottom line is, we're looking at the league, we're talking about how long it's been with the MD Bar Celtic or Rangers win it. As far as Hibs and Hearts go, their season, I think, boils down to this cup tie, which is to be played in January. And for one of them, season over after that. So it's a huge game, and that's why I'm not surprised there'll be a bit of toing and froing with the 2 Edinburgh clubs.
Yes, but I'll tell you what, the one thing
with 2 of the Edinburgh clubs.
Yeah.
FC Edinburgh.
Yeah, absolutely, so you don't get in trouble with them. The one thing about high Bs, and as Tam mentioned there, I think Hearts will be looking to bring players in to strengthen, but Hibs, Lee Johnson's looking to offload more than a few players, and he's got to turn them around quickly, because this is not a club that stands by their manager, and he's lost the game against Rangers despite the fact they get plaudits for the first half.
No, I think we spoke about the 4 games they've got, and he's already lost one of them. So the pressure is now mounting, and it'll be interesting to see how many he does get out the door, because I think Tam was saying there was about at least 7 or 8, that he has to get out and bring some in. But he needs to start winning games, more importantly.
Yeah. I think I think he'll be under pressure, especially with the derby at Tynecastle on the second.
I think there's no question about it, and I think if he loses that derby, and if you look at Hibs' record at Tynecastle, there's no evidence it would suggest any encouragement for Hibs going there. But I think if he loses that, I think it becomes he's walking in very thin ice.
Yeah, you happy with Shane Blaney coming in, Tom?
Well, like most Mullow fans, all I really know about him is the absolute perler of a 40-yard free kick that he scored past us. And the minute, I must be honest, that was I'm loath to even have a memory of that particular European tussle. But the very fact that he could score from that distance against I think a brilliant goalie like Liam Kelly speaks volumes. So let's bring the boy in, see what he can do. Yeah,
fingers crossed on that. Just before we go, English football is all set to come back as well, Ruffy. Liverpool, Man City have sent out a warning to their fans to behave themselves. A wee bit of needle. It's always a wee bit of needle when teams suddenly start to win, then somebody contests it with them. And more often than not, it was Liverpool against Man United. Now it's Liverpool, Man City.
Yeah, it just shows you the success that these 2 teams want and the need. And obviously Liverpool in the league this year haven't been impressive at all. So they've got to start winning games as well. But I mean, fans just love noising up people who are successful.
Is this warning? Don't run on the park and protest when we play the under-15s in these games. Yeah. Is the warning along those lines?
Won the Carabao Cup.
Did any of them take that serious? I wouldn't watch one of those games. You couldn't pay me money. What's the approach they'll be having, Liverpool and Man City? Do any of you know?
Well, to be fair, you'll get fringe players there, but I think there's a saturation point in football. I mean, I've loved the World Cup and watching it and enjoyed it. It's an unusual time to watch it, I think, as everybody's alluded to. But I've enjoyed it. But there are games that I would not turn on, Alan.
Really?
I think that's always the way in any competition. I would agree with you. I think the readiness and the constant availability of football you do reach a saturation point. I think especially for the likes of us, you're at games all the time. I think sometimes you need a particular pull if you're in your free time and you think you want to just sit and relax and watch a game. But it's interesting when you think all the additional competitions that have been suggested too. At what point do you think it is too much that people start getting fed up?
When you're in the house with your husband, do you watch a lot of football?
It's always on. There's football on all the time.
Your kids as well.
Kids are.
You, Ruffy?
No.
No?
Unless it's a big game.
Unless a big game.
Well, we're watching tonight.
Can I tell you the story, Tam? Will I share a story with you? And tell me if you think this is obviously from my youth. You know my nephew, and he was studying in Edinburgh at the time, and I had a flat, so he stayed with me, you know, and we lived in Edinburgh, and I was going out with this girl, Tam, who basically, when she came into the flat all the time, my nephew and I were always watching football. So Stephen and I were always watching the football. It was on, it was Sky Sports, it was the early years of that. And she then went mental and said, "No, you're not watching piddly games." And she was just going mental.
What are piddly games?
Well, this is the thing I'm about to tell you, because she said,
something totally different.
You're not watching these games, these insignificant ones, the rubbish ones. You're not watching.
Where's this going, by the way?
I'm just going to tell you the story. This is relevant. This is relevant to it. So as soon as she said that, my nephew, who could speak to me telepathically, he looked at me, Ruffy, and he went, right, you know, she's for the off, right? Because the next week she came in, Tam,
right,
and she looked at the telly and she said, No, get it off. Get it off. This is an insignificant, small, stupid game. To which my nephew and I turned around and went, "This is Leyton Orient against Northwich Victoria. This is a second division playoff match."
How long did that relationship last?
She left a week later.
You know what? When you say saturation coverage, I don't think when I analyse it, it's any surprise that my best man at my wedding, my best mate growing up, could not have told you anything about football. He wouldn't have watched the World Cup final, etc. And it's like, when you're growing up, there was nothing better, particularly if I was particularly immersed in it for that week, for whatever was happening, and just to sit with my mate having a drink, knowing that the one topic that wasn't going to crop up was football, you know. And by the same token, the amount of bars and pubs you get into, I can think of a very famous boozer in the West End of Glasgow, which for the football loving public, they do it very well with the amount of screens on and about. But that's fine if there's a Scottish game on, maybe an English game, European or international, but they'll even have that on if it's like the third division in Libya or something, you know, if there's nothing else to watch. I know it does, you're sitting meant to be having a blether with your pals, on some boozers a game of pool, and it's like zombie stuff. You just stand there staring at the screen because it's football. It's horrible.
Yeah, we don't,
too much it.
We don't get into those pubs in the West End, do we, Ruffy? We've never been in that type of pub.
I've never been in a pool table place in my life. Snooker.
What?
No, I'm not. Snookers.
You've never been in a pub where there's a pool table?
No, I can think.
Away and bile your head, by the way. What are you talking about? You've never been in a pub with a pool table?
I can't even tell you where a pool table is. Seriously.
God almighty. How did you ever come to
Did you bang your head this morning or something?
By the way,
What are you on about?
He's a Stuart Cosgrove of this partnership.
Just been contrary for the sake of it.
Listen.
Well, I'm completely different for you. If I was going out with my girlfriend and there was a football game on, I'd be going to get that telly off.
Yeah, okay, I'll take that point. Right, so I'm going to give a mention to Kurt Linder, who won the Eredivisie in 1981-82, sadly passed away. He had Cruyff, Van Basten, Rijkaard in the team, and he's passed away. And again, it's just one of those things when you look at some great managers, some great players, and I think it was great. I'm so glad you mentioned Terry Hall.
Terry Hall,
it was part of our upbringing, you know, the whole period, Ruffy, where Tam and I were growing up in this area. You could start your own record label, get your mates out, you know, have a band. Depeche Mode, the Specials, the music was so varied, it was absolutely fantastic.
12-inch version of Ghost Town is just...
I have it. It's my
haunting.
Yes,
It's
I'm
absolutely.
going to ask Ali, how does that go, that song, Ali? This side of the couch. You need to give us a wee song before we finish. You need to give us a wee Ghost Town before you
You
finish.
must know the Specials.
It's got one of the best intros ever, hasn't it? It's, the start of it sounds like nothing else.
It's absolutely unbelievable.
No,
it really is.
63 though.
Eh?
63.
Too young, too young, and a fantastic songwriter. Anyway, apart from that, how we get Terry Hall on the programme, I'll never know, but I'm absolutely delighted that Tam mentioned it because he was a genius. Last point, the last Rangers player to
Remember the
go.
quiz?
This is it.
Oh, sorry.
This is it.
Right, so
Yeah.
you said
Give
last
us a,
point. and I
give
thought
us a
you'd
year
forgotten,
before you
sorry.
tell us a player.
The year is 1969.
Oh,
The last
Wow.
Rangers player to join
Yeah.
Aberdeen.
Alec Willoughby.
Yes.
Oh, well done.
Well done.
Alec Willoughby. There you are, Ruffy.
Yes.
Yeah, there is the answer. It's a long time, isn't it?
Did anybody get that right?
Yes, a couple of
good
people
on
did
them.
actually, and I must just actually see if I can scroll back to the person who mentioned it was Alec Willoughby, and there it is. There it's Hugh Scott. Peter, it was Alex Willoughby, the last player to go from Rangers to Aberdeen. Hugh, I think Hugh is a Rangers fan. Hugh, well done with that. He's always a regular contributor to it, and if you've got that kind of knowledge, that was brilliant. Ruffy.
Good shout, Ruffy. Well done.
Do you remember things like that?
No, I wouldn't remember the year. Well, I obviously never got it right, but
Yeah.
I remember him going to Aberdeen.
Yeah, I mean it's so.
And he was in a good side as well.
Yeah, it's amazing how sometimes a transfer, a big move, can stick in your mind. You know, I can remember being on the M1 when I phoned my mum and she said, by the way, Maurice Johnson signed for Rangers. And it sticks in your head in 1989. I'll never forget that day when Maurice Johnson signed for Rangers. You know that way people say they knew where they were when Kennedy was shot?
Yep. I was on the way to the BB. I was walking up the road to the BB.
John F. Kennedy was shot? Yeah, is there any footballing thing that sticks in your head, Ali?
I was there when Alec Kennedy was shot with disgruntled Celtic Rangers fans when we went 5 at the back. They couldn't take it anymore. And I think I was on their side.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Was it when he was playing for you? Sorry, to
Yes.
go back to big Alec Kennedy.
Yes.
Lovely big guy with a red hair.
Yes. Yeah.
Was it whilst playing for you that he gets sent off in a
was-
junior cup final for a headbutt?
The third final that we got to, he gets sent
see.
off at Ibrox. It was.
Where is it? Have you ever bumped into him
I
like
think
that?
he stays in Prestwick, yep.
Oh, brilliant. Aye.
Great big player.
Aye,
Captain.
aye.
If I could give you anything just as we go, this is the last time because obviously next week we're going into the specials ahead of Christmas, Tam, and the festive period as well. If they could give you the ultimate Christmas present for yourself, what would it be?
I'm not greedy, and I'm guessing by what you were doing earlier, we're already going to the pictures and I aren't we? So just get us some nachos and a quarter of jelly babies, that'll do me.
You're not wanting to be watching any football.
There you are, I'll leave it at that. Anyway, forget leaving buying you two a present, don't even know who the specials are. Okay, thanks to Ruffy, thanks to Alison McConnell, and thanks to Tam. Tam and Alison will be back with us at the start of next year as well, because obviously there's more than a few specials that we're throwing out. We're going to throw out, amazingly, Tam, at the weekend, you might not have known this, so many people on LinkedIn and so many people have mentioned it to us. It's 10 years. Ruffy and I together, and one of my mates says, and they said it wouldn't last, Ruffy. We've been booted from pillar to post, but thankfully, when Ali eventually signs the book deal with me, I will not miss any of them when I eventually pull that book out of the bag. But 10 years, Ruffy, is amazing, isn't it?
As it's just went like that.
Yeah, I have actually just looked back over the 10 years at the guests we've had on. It's been incredible. It's been
unfortunately, people can't see the pictures that are in here, and it is amazing when you see the amount of celebrities we've had on.
Yeah.
Go on, gaze the top 5, just off the top of your head.
Top 5.
Dane Dalglish,
Yep.
wee Gordon Strachan, Stevie Naismith down at Everton.
Yep.
It was a joy. Oh, there's been tons.
Yeah, I liked Archibald in Barcelona.
Wee Bertie.
Bertie was fantastic, wasn't he?
Bertie.
I liked Archibald in Barcelona because Ruffy was worried that he was a complete maniac, and I said, no, he's absolutely fantastic. And Steve Archibald took us out to a restaurant in Barcelona. Steve Archibald's a god in Barcelona, and we went out to a restaurant, spent a fortune in wine, took us into the new camp. Ruffy, we were around everywhere, weren't we? He was
Great.
He was awesome. He was a great lad.
Loud mellowed.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
So we had a right good few, and you probably had a great few in your 25 years with Cosgrove. Anyway, so the specials we're putting out on a day like today with specials, and we're putting out 2 programmes to celebrate 10 years of some of the guests we've had. We'll have the best of from this year, and Tam features heavily on that as well, as you would imagine, with some of the gags he's been firing out. And we've got some good one-to-ones for you too, and we've got a brilliant Old Firm special coming up on the 29th. 2 players that have played in it, and Ruffy and myself will be sitting down and having a wee chat with them about the big game ahead of that match at Ibrox Rangers against Celtic. So that's one to look out for as well. From Tam, Ali, Ruffy and myself, Peter Martin. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and do what so many people are doing now. They're subscribing and they're watching in their thousands. Thank you very much for your support. Thanks for watching.